I love chocolate and I make no apologies, and tonight I'm going to make the most incredible chocolate mousse shooters for my guests. And we're coupling that with wonton pizzas topped with crab and capers. How about some scallops with a creamy Romesco sauce? And of course, no tapas party is complete without artichoke dip. These are all sweet life recipes that will raise your expectations, but not your waistline or your blood sugar.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, but whenever I make rice, I put some extra in the freezer. This one just came out of the freezer because rice freezes well and it takes a long time to make, about 40 minutes for brown rice. So I'm pulling that out of the freezer to thaw because I'm going to make my quiche crust with that in just a moment. But meantime, I'm starting on dessert, and tonight we're having dessert in those little shot glasses. It's so trendy right now, it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to make a little mousse, and I'm starting with unflavored gelatin. And I need this to dissolve for just a moment in some water. Not a lot of water here, just a 1/4 cup of water. Don't need to stir that or anything, just let it sit here and it will rehydrate. Meantime, I'm going to work in my pan with my chocolate, which is the favorite thing for me to eat. I believe it should be a food group. That was my cup for cup sugar substitute. It's the one that measures just like sugar, but it's light as air. So I'm putting that in there, 1 cup of that. And then I have my unsweetened cocoa powder. Now, all cocoa powders are not created the same, so do your homework. Taste it, look at reviews, figure out what cocoa powder you want to work with, and this is 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Now, one of the things I used to do always is I would crack an egg, and I would just, if I wanted the yolk, I would pass it back and forth between the shells. And then I heard that the outside of the eggs could have a bacteria that I am passing back and forth when I'm doing that. So I decided to go ahead and splurge on this little egg separator. And now my yolk separates out from the white, and I'm going to add that to my evaporated milk. Now this is just 1 can of evaporated milk, and I want to get the low-fat version because, again, I'm trying to eat healthier. All right, putting the yolks inside of this evaporated milk, and all I'm doing is whisking it together. You never want to put egg yolks in a dish without whisking them because they need to be broken down. Otherwise, they're going to clump like scrambled eggs in what it is that you're doing. Now that I have the 2 of those together, I am pouring them into my sweetener and my cocoa powder, and I simply am bringing up the heat. This is such an easy process. I'm bringing this up, I'm warming this, and oh, you see my gelatin is just about dissolved at this point. I'm gonna wait until that's dissolved. I will add that into my cocoa powder milk mixture, and it'll go off to the chiller for about 25-30 minutes, and I will get to work on my quiche. Now I bet you've never had a quiche the way I'm going to make it today. The crust is made with rice, brown rice. And remember, I pulled it out of my freezer, but rather than dirty another dish, I'm going to mix all of my ingredients for this crust right here in my zipper bag. So the first thing that I'm putting in here is my egg substitute, and it doesn't take much. I'm looking at 1/4 cup, which is really the equivalent of 1 egg. Then I'm also putting in 2 different powders in this. One is a teaspoon of garlic powder, and the other one is a teaspoon of onion powder. Now, of course, a little bit of salt and pepper. And in this bag, I'm using sea salt, which is lower in sodium and I think just tastes good. Plus, it makes me feel all important here using my grinder. And then, of course, the all-important ground pepper. I also mix my peppers. I have 6-7 different kinds of peppers that I put in a bag, shake them all up, and put that inside of my pepper mill. And so every time I mix it up, it's different. Now look at this. I'm just massaging this bag, knowing that I'm doing a great job with mixing this up. And when I'm done, I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of shredded cheese. Now I'm saving some for the top of my quiche, but I want a little bit in the crust too, so that every bite is flavorful and delicious. All right, let's put that aside. Here's my pie dish, and I'm going for a deep dish this time. It has a nonstick finish, but I'm also spraying it with a little bit of the omega-3 nonstick spray. And then I'm putting my rice mixture inside. And I hate to tell you guys, but at this stage of the game, you gotta get a little dirty. All right? So reach down in and press this rice mixture into the bottom of your pan. And I want a nice thick crust. The egg will come out of the side once I bake this in the oven, so I'm not worried about that in the least, because tonight we're having a tapas mix. Little tiny bit of cheese in the bottom. I'm saving most of this for the top. Now, the next part is super, super easy. Turning on my skillet over here and heating it up. And I want to make sure that this is a healthy dish, so I am not using pork sausage. I love pork, and pork can be very lean, but the sausage is not. So I'm using turkey sausage today. I'm going to add this to my skillet and get this to start browning. And all I want to do, the skillet's already getting hot. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here and let this start before I bring in my other pieces of this puzzle. I have a Mirepoix over here, and my Mirepoix is red pepper, could be green, celery, and onion. Now that's the holy trinity. These are the things that make everything exceptional. Half a cup of each of these that I'm going to put in once my sausage has had a little time to get going, because these are going to saute much quicker than that turkey sausage. So meantime, while I'm doing that, I have two more things I want to do here. First of all, I have a traditional, regular, old farm fresh egg. I'm breaking this egg, making sure that it's good, and I'm going to whisk it up. And I want to put this in my large bowl with my egg substitute. There's one reason that I'm doing this. I find I don't love the texture of quiche when I've used completely an egg substitute. The texture just doesn't resemble a quiche to me. And if it doesn't resemble a quiche, I don't really want to do it. So I'm mixing the two of these together. And the other element that's going to help this to resemble a quiche is putting in my yogurt. So I have yogurt, 1/4 cup, that's going into this mixture as well. I'm also putting in some hot pepper sauce. I don't know how hot you like your dish. I probably like mine a little hotter than yours. My son says that I've burned my taste buds off. I don't know about that. We're gonna go ahead and press our garlic into this, and I've done some ahead of time, but if you don't have one of these little devices, it's incredible. It makes it so much fresher. Immediately your kitchen just smells like you're doing something amazing. And I'm adding in the rest of my garlic. Hang on one moment. Just checking my turkey sausage. Now the interesting thing about turkey sausage is it's so lean that sometimes you might need to add, okay, in this case I'm okay, you might need to add a little something to your skillet to make sure that it doesn't burn. Don't add oil. You are defeating the purpose of having such a lean sausage inside of this. So instead of adding oil to this, what I would do is put in just a little drop of water. It's a dieter's trick that I have been using for years, and it will help tremendously. Now that's about halfway cooked, which is the point where I'm going to add my Mirepoix. So again, I have my red bell pepper and my onions. And the moment I put these in, they're going to release some of their natural juices. They have water inside of them, and that's going to help this sweat out, especially when I put in the celery. Celery is, I think, half water anyway. We're gonna bring these in. It looks good. It smells good. One of the great things about turkey sausage is that it is so lean, I don't even have to drain it. Saves me a step. I'm heating up my oven to 375 degrees, and then I'm bringing over this meat, putting it in my egg mixture. Going to stir this all up and pour it over my crust. Let's put that over there. Get rid of this whisk. So simple. And there's so much flavor in this dish. I mean, so much flavor. We've got the flavor of the sausage, the Mirepoix, of course, the spices that we put in, the hot pepper sauce, which is my favorite of all. And here we go. This is meaty, delicious, and we're gonna slice it up, be able to have it on little tiny plates. Some people might even be able to eat this with their fingers if they choose, or a fork, whatever they like. I'm just gonna tip this a moment, let some of the egg mixture come down to the other side of my rice. And you know, you just wanna pay attention when you're in the kitchen. You use all of your senses, your eyes, your nose, your ears. And this is our reduced fat shredded cheese. And you know what? All these cheeses are not created equal. So make sure you do your homework on this too. Taste them, find out which one melts the best, that you like the best. In this case, I shredded that myself because the stuff that's pre-shredded in the grocery store, I don't really care for. So it's a pretty hot oven, 375 degrees. We're going to put this in for about 30 minutes or until the center is set. One of my favorite dishes when I go out to eat is the artichoke dip, but I looked it up online and can you believe it? They are about 60% fat. Well, I decided I wanted to lighten it up and have a sweet life version that's not going to add anything to the waistline. My version is about 37% fat, and I was able to achieve that by using reduced fat mayonnaise and sour cream. So we're starting with our food processor, and I'm going to put those two items in right away. Here's my reduced fat sour cream. Now in your market, you might find a version that you really like. I know a name brand that I like, but it may not be available in yours. Make sure whatever it is that you put in your ingredients is something that you like. This for me is an olive oil mayonnaise because it's reduced fat, but I like the fats that are inside of that. Now I'm also going to add to this particular dish my flat leaf parsley and just about a handful. Just want to put that in there. And then also garlic. You can never have too much garlic in my mind, but in this particular dish, I'm putting in 5 cloves. Now, what's also going to make this creamy and delicious and remind you of the restaurant version are my white beans. So I'm taking a can of white beans, pouring them in. Oh, let's get the lid out of there. Pouring them in and rinsing them off. The white beans are so popular in any sort of Italian dish, but they'll add this miraculous creaminess to this dish with no fat. In fact, what it'll add is protein. So I'm gonna put that inside, and I wanna mix this one up first. So I'm gonna give it a little whir. I'm gonna pulse it on this one. The reason I pulse it is that it stops, and then it allows it to settle at the bottom, and I can whir it again. And that's because I don't want anyone to take a bite of this and find a big chunk of garlic in there. Now let me let it go for about 15 seconds. Now I need a little bit of lemon juice. If you can, always do your fresh squeezed lemon. So if you see any seeds jump in there, you let me know, okay? Because well, speaking of that, there was one right inside my press. There we go. I need just a tablespoon or so of my lemon juice. There's typically, oh, no seeds, awesome. There are typically 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in a typical lemon. So I'm not measuring that, I'm just gonna go for it. Now I'm putting in my Parmesan cheese, aged Parmesan cheese that we grate ourselves. I'm gonna whir this up again. Okay. And our final step is the best step. It's the artichokes. All right, I like to use the frozen artichokes and then I just cut them into quarters. I use an entire box of frozen ones. I prefer those over the canned, and I never get the ones that are in oil because again, this is a reduced calorie fat recipe. So an entire box of artichokes. Now I need to put in some salt and pepper. Okay. And by the way, that was a whole entire cup of Parmesan cheese that I put in there. Lots of salt and pepper. Now at this point, I do not want to pulverize those artichokes because they're meaty and they're delicious and it feels like you're eating meat. And if I pulverize those, it's going to be horrible. But if they're too big for my cracker or my pita chip, then you know my guests are going to be uncomfortable. It will fall on them. I don't want to put them in that position. So we're going to pulse and watch, pulse and watch. Perfect. Okay, this is almost my final step. What I need to do now, let me just move this, is take my dish, and this is an oven-proof dish. Actually, this is the bottom of my tagine. I love cookware. I'm addicted to cookware. And I am spraying this with a canola oil spray. I'm gonna pull out the blade for just a second. I don't wanna miss a drop of this goodness. Come on over in there. All right. And with the spatula, we're gonna pour this in. Now this is going to go in my oven. I've got my quiche in there. I just move it over, add this to it, and this is going to need to bake until it's hot and bubbly. And we're talking, oh, maybe 30 minutes. Don't let it go too long and don't take it out too quickly. Now the nice thing, because I'm serving this in my tagine, you know what? I want to clean up this little edge because I don't want this to brown and burn on that dish. Okay. 30 minutes or so in the oven. I'll put the lid on it and that way it'll stay warm until my guests arrive. I am making for you one of my very favorite things in the world. It is a Romesco sauce. If you've never had it before, you're going to want to try this. Make it for your family and friends, and especially when you're having a party. This is a dish that has roasted red peppers in it. It has tomatoes. It's incredible, these toasted almonds, and it's going to have so much flavor. But most importantly, this is a dish that we can serve room temperature, so it's perfect for a party. All right, let me take these over and put them in my food processor. Beautiful. I wanted to get those going first because I want to make sure that there's not a big chunky piece of that in this sauce. Now this is going to come together in just a minute and it's so good. I cannot wait for you to try this. First thing I'm going to put in there is my garlic, and I have 4 cloves of garlic, and again I want to pulse this one right now because I want to chop that up pretty good. So here we go. All right, well, while that's going, let me tell you some of the other ingredients I have. 2 jars of roasted red peppers. If you have your own, go ahead and use them. I'm going to show you how many that's going to equate to. But I have some other ingredients as well. I have cumin. I love cumin. That's a teaspoon. I also have red pepper flakes because this has a little kick to it. 2 teaspoons of those. Now this is some vinegar. I'm going to go ahead and pour my olive oil in, but I'm never pouring in my vinegar because if it's too vinegary, it's not going to taste right. So there goes my vinegar. Here are my roasted red peppers. Now I'm going to hold the juice aside in case I want it, but I'm not putting it in to start with. So here they are going in individually. And I didn't pour it off because I do want that juice maybe. I want this to be at the right consistency later on. All right, bringing those in. And jarred roasted red peppers are amazing. Use them if you got them. Plus it's a pantry staple. All right, fire roasted tomatoes are oftentimes hard to find. If you can't find them, just diced tomatoes are fine. I did drain those. If you can find them, please use those. And by the way, you might have to find them in the organic section of your grocery store. Now, extra virgin olive oil is best kept in a solid container because this really shouldn't see the light. I want a couple of tablespoons of this. Remember I told you to save it for the things that are not achieving heat. And then I need about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I like the sea salt. This one has a little peppercorn in it. Rock on. And finally, a piece of bread. I know it sounds kind of weird, right? But we're putting in a piece of bread for texture, for flavor, and of course, I use whole wheat bread. All right, whir this up. Consistency is absolutely perfect. This is what I want. Oh my goodness, call this delicious. Now I fully admit what I'm about to do is fancy. And if you don't want to go to this trouble, you can make this same dish and just serve it in some sort of a dessert cup, like a pudding cup or a sorbet cup. But I want to do the trendy thing that's happening right now and these little shots. So we're going to start by putting our whipping cream in our blender and whipping this up. It's really important that this is ice cold, so I have it sitting here in the ice, and off we go. It's not a lot of whipped cream, I know that, but I'm gonna let that stay there, and I'm off to my refrigerator to get my chocolate. Off it goes while this whips. All right, while that's going, I wanna talk to you. I'm going to prepare my piping bag. Now, years ago, I was a cake decorator, so I kind of have this stuff around. This is a disposable one. They can have professional ones. You could even use a zippered bag, cut a hole in the tip, zip it closed, and squeeze that out. I'm putting it down in a tall glass, and I'm putting the outside over. Now, this is how we're going to fill this once I get this whipped. Ooh, it's looking good. All right. Now that wasn't much cream. We only had a half a cup of cream there, so it's not making a lot. Cream has a lot of fat in it. Remember, early on, this did not have fat. This was, and this is just our gelatin mixture with the low-fat evaporated milk, our cup-for-cup sugar substitute, and then our unsweetened cocoa. So at this point, all I want to do is fold this in. I'm going to attempt to do it first with my beater, and if it doesn't work, I'll use my spatula. So I'm turning this on low. But what I don't want to do is mix it up tremendously. I just want this to be in there a little tiny bit. So I just want to put a few of the cookies in here. All right. You know what? Let me move this out of your way. Don't worry, I will clean up on that tray where I missed that before I serve it to my guests. Apparently, everyone in the world likes raspberries and chocolate together. I have to be honest with you, I'm not a fan. But when you're serving guests, you don't necessarily just do what you like. So I'm going to go ahead and put these raspberries on top of this dessert, and I'm just not going to eat mine. Whoever's sitting next to me will be enjoying an extra raspberry. All right, there we go. Move this to the side, lift this out. Now here's what's pretty important. There's always air down here at the bottom of the bag, and I want to just kind of work it down. There we go. Work it down. Now if I were working with a cake right now, I'd be working that harder. I'm going to start with this one here on the end. Pipe a little bit in. Stop. Add a little bit more of my cookie crumble because I want every bite of this to be filled with deliciousness. And now, bend over. And we'll top this with a raspberry. All right, I have 5 more to go, and then our entire meal is ready to serve. So we're about 10 minutes away from my guests arriving, and I just have a couple more things to do. First thing is broil my scallops. I washed them, and now I've patted them dry, and I'm putting them on the broiler. There's seafood seasoning in your grocery store. You can use your favorite kind. I like an old standby that I've been using for years. Whatever it is that you want to put on your scallops will work best for you, will taste delicious, I'm sure. I'm just sprinkling them with a season. They're going to go under the broiler, and let me tell you what, these things are going fast. I'm talking 2 to 3 minutes max. Right now they're kind of translucent. The moment they are opaque, they are done. So do not walk away at this stage of the game. Let me just put these in the broiler real quick. All right, the last thing I need to do is make my little wonton pizzas. Now this is so simple. These were wontons that you purchase at the grocery store. I put them on a cutting board, I sprayed them with canola oil, and in about 2 minutes, this is what they turned into. It was a hot oven, about 400 degrees. Now I'm taking these and smearing them with reduced fat cream cheese that I have allowed to soften. I want a decent amount on here because we want flavor. And then you can put on any topping you want. For tonight, because I want some color, I'm putting on finely diced red peppers. These are fresh. I have some diced scallions for a little green. These are capers. Oh, they rock the house. You can put on a little dill, and in this case, I just have a tiny amount. And then finally, because I actually like the people who are coming over tonight, I am splurging on crab. So I've got to make a few more of these, and my guests are just about here. We're going to stop and enjoy our tapas dinner. Tapas are a perfect party food. They're quick, they're easy, and if you don't tell your guests that they're good for them, they'll never know. The Sweet Life is more than just changing a recipe, it's about changing lives.
It's a sweet, sweet taste of life. Sweet, sweet life. Yes, it is.